Oh, okay. Twitch is going. YouTube is going. I see Shoopsley and Alan Gross on Twitter. Welcome, my friends.
Twitter?
Not Twitter. Shoot, I'm tired. Twitch. So we're getting ready to knock the beta label off of some of our citizen science projects. And we're also getting ready to go to MagicCon this weekend to talk about the science behind some of the cards, like Meteor Crater and Lava Burst. And I'm getting a whole bunch of 35-cent pieces of cardboard to discuss the science behind today. And we're also getting ready for Hangoutathon and also Stellar Collective Conference and International Observe the Moon Night and 100 Hours of Astronomy. And all of that is in the next 2.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was listening to NPR on Sunday morning. I listen to it most mornings. And I'm lying in bed, checking email, contemplating how awful my day is about to be. Mm-hmm. And on the radio, they're like, Silicon Valley startup workers have adopted a new 996 schedule of working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we don't know what the 6 is. It's 6 days a week.
6 days a week. That's the Chinese schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And as an academic, I heard this and I'm just like, oh, that's so cute. So very cute. If only they knew.
Yeah, I do sometimes 14-hour days.
Yeah. We work our asses off to produce all the content.
I start working at 5:30 usually, and then get the bulk of my work done by around 2 or so, and then we'll tick off a few more things by about 5 o'clock. And then sometimes I do live streams from 5 till 7. So there are days when I do 14 hours for sure. Yeah. Like if we wanted to work less, we pick another field,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, this is not done because the work hours are good and the money is good.
No.
I think I'm the lowest paid person in the company.
You know yeah. So I have Allie and I. She's my producer. We set the budgets so that our take home is basically the same. Although I get 1 extra hour for budgeting because I don't budget for free.
Yeah. Anyway.
We make it work.
So I don't know if you've heard the news. Eric Berger was reporting this today that it looks like NASA is going to be going with the House budget and not the White House administration budget.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's good news. So it's going to be largely unchanged, still in the sort of $24 billion range, not the 20% haircut. But I think they've already lost thousands and thousands of senior people.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens, the brain drain has already begun. And then I guess when you mash that up with whatever is the potential government shutdown that may happen in a couple of weeks,
right?
That may just sort of force the no budget.
Right.
So we're not quite out of the woods yet, but I think, if this all happens, and if Congress sticks with it and goes with the House plan, then, we don't have to talk about all of these brutal cuts. We can sort of continue to talk about NASA moving forward with roughly the same funding.
And we got Viper back. That was the most exciting thing to me last week. I don't know about
Amazon delivery.
Yeah. I get most of my stuff delivered to our house because I would rather pay people a good amount of money to do that for me than have to go to the store and face all the germs and grossness and the robot that attacks you at the store.
I barely buy things on Amazon anymore.
So, but it's not just Amazon, it's on the internet.
I barely buy delivered goods
okay.
on the internet at this point. I probably buy something once a month. You're going to love this, actually, what I just bought. So playing Dungeons and Dragons with the kids,
Yeah.
and the room was poorly lit because we play in the evening and the days are getting shorter,
Yeah.
and suddenly now
Happy solstice.
happy solstice. So I can't. Oh, is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or not.
so I couldn't see
yeah,
very
not
well.
solstice. Happy equinox.
So I got
Dice.
big one.
Many dice.
Yeah, I got 25 millimeter, very clearly written dice. So, these are, I'm going to be able to see these in low light with
That's
my old eyes.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's funny. Because I was just like, it was like, do I hit? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I have one thing working against me that you don't, which is I have a allergy to latex and anything containing the related chitinase protein. And so when I shop on the internet, I can get materials lists. I know if it's a company that's safe or not. And when I'm in the store,
Yeah, you have no idea. Yeah, totally.
So
totally makes sense.
yeah. But like I constantly am getting delivery updates in my email of your thing is going to be delivered on. We are
Right.
updating. And so there's like update. And then last week I got a delivery update for the Viper rover where instead of being a canceled scientific purchase, it was changed to be delivered via Blue Origin's New Glenn in late 2027, assuming that NASA likes the, it's a two-part contract. Blue Origin first has to say, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to offload it from the Mark 1 lander. They have to have their launch coming up in next month. I think it's next month. No, it's November they're slated to launch.
Right. That's for the Mars mission.
Right. So they have to successfully get it. Both Escapade and the first launch of Mark 1 are on that, I think.
Yeah.
And so they need to be successful with their next launch, and they need to have a solid plan. And if everything goes well, Viper will continue to be the most canceled and most expensive lunar lander ever.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild because they'd already written the CLPS contract to Astrobotic, paid out the CLPS contract to Astrobotic. Now they're paying out the at least first part of the contract to Blue Origin. This started out as Lunar Prospector, got canceled, became Viper, got canceled, got stored,
It's a mess.
Yes.
All right.
We
Why
should
don't
do
we get
this
started?
show instead of
Do our
some
job.
future show that I need to put in the schedule. Somewhere I have audio recording software. There it is. Are you ready to record?
I'm ready.
I'm pressing record on the audio. I am pressing record on the video. We are recording.
Astronomy Cast, episode 765, Rockets versus the Environment. Welcome to Astronomy Cast, our weekly facts-based journey through the cosmos, where we help you understand not only what we know, but how we know what we know. I'm Fraser Cain. I'm the publisher of Universe Today. With me, as always, is Dr. Pamela Gay, a senior scientist for the Planetary Science Institute and the director of CosmoQuest. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
I am doing well. We are recording this on the fall equinox. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, we could feel it. The weather definitely changed. Things are cooler. The wind is up. Hopefully the rain will return. We're still waiting on any amount of rain here. It's been 5 months now since we've had serious rainfall. Yeah, everything is just parched. So, the deep into September, the wildfire warning is still pretty extreme. So hopefully we will get just a miserable storm that will just dump a ton of rain on us and reset us back to some level of normality.
I have to admit we are in that strange time of year in southern Illinois where all of my morning glories are wildly blooming everywhere and the leaves are changing, and I kind of dig the combination.
Like bindweed, kill it with fire. The white flowers?
Little blue flowers. All right.
Yeah, all right.
They're good.
We don't launch a lot of rockets every year, so their impact on the environment is minimal compared to other forms of transportation. But that number is steadily increasing with rates that will have. But that number is steadily increasing
Do you just
with
want to
rates.
start over?
Sure. We don't launch We don't launch a lot of rockets every year, so their impact on the environment is minimal compared to other forms of transportation. But that number is steadily increasing with rates that we'll have to take seriously. What's the current and future impact of rockets on the environment? And we'll talk about it in a second, but it's time for a break. And we're back. So give us a sense of the environmental impact. I guess, what are the forms? What are the ways that rockets can harm the environment compared to, other forms of transportation that we're familiar with?
So we have a number of different things going on. We have both launch and return to consider.
Yep.
And on the way up, we have the sonic boom, which can deeply confuse and disturb surrounding animals. We have, in the case of the way SpaceX does things, there is usually a cloud of very cold, formerly liquid gas that goes across the landscape, chilling everything in its path. We have, as the rockets go up through the atmosphere, depending on if they're solid rocket or the liquid oxygen that is so popular, or methane, which is becoming popular, you're putting gases into the atmosphere at altitudes they may not normally be at. And then...
And then not to mention solid rockets,
right,
which produce other kinds of chemicals, again, at different altitudes.
And then we have satellites falling back down through the atmosphere. Satellites now need to have a 5 years after they're no longer planned to be used, plan for how to get them out of the way of everything else. And that generally includes burning them up in the atmosphere. That drops particulate matter into the upper part of the atmosphere, where we are not sure if the dominant factor is going to be increasing the reflectivity of the planet or increasing the ability of greenhouse effect, as light that goes up gets re-radiated back down. We're still figuring out that balance.
Yeah. And there's also damage to the ozone layer from those satellites burning up in the atmosphere.
And if something blows up, as Starship has done, it can actually put a hole in the ionosphere, which is fun.
And then there are rockets that don't make it all the way up to space, and they don't burn up in the atmosphere, and instead they crash into the ocean. And so, for example, the Space Launch System is going to crash, the first stage into the ocean and sink to the bottom of the ocean and break up. But yeah, you've got the plume of steam, of hot steam that comes out from the water system that tries to deal with the noise from the rockets that is blown out across the landscape. So there's a bunch of things that are happening. There's then all of the transportation that's required, all of the maintenance, all of the infrastructure that's required to get a rocket ready to launch. In some cases, rockets are taken, they're constructed in California and then they're taken on train all the way across the United States or on truck to be able to get to the launch site in Florida. So you've got all the separate component parts that are all coming together to launch this rocket. And now at this point, I'm sure those of you who are concerned about our impact on the environment would like to get a sense of the scale. So do we have a sense of like how much rockets contribute to damage to the environment?
So there are detailed studies coming out of the Environmental Protection Agency and the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association, or Administration rather, that look at different factors. So for instance, my favorite thing that has been done so far is near Vandenberg is a beach where sea lions like to raise their young. And prior to allowing an ongoing launch license for SpaceX, which has far more launches out of Vandenberg than anyone else has had, they were required to monitor for a period of time how the sea lions reacted to sonic booms, to make sure that the number of sea lions typically seen on the beach was not decreasing as an impact of having the sonic boom race across their beach. there are also studies that look at what are the basically regions in which you're going to have different amounts of sound, that chest vibrating noise that can actually cause damage to ears, and what kinds of wildlife is within that. And so here they're literally doing, okay, so we've seen this rocket go up. We know that it causes this many seabirds to just go away, cease to live within that region.
Yeah, I don't want to live there anymore.
Right. We know how much bigger the next rocket they're planning to put is. Let's now run calculations to model the decrease in seabirds, in shoreline critters, and alligators are something you have to worry about in Florida. They go through and they look at all the different wildlife that is native to the area and that may decide it doesn't want to live there anymore as a result of the impact of rockets. It turns out seabirds don't care very much. They are seeing order of a few percent decrease to 10% decrease with bigger and bigger rockets. The sea lions also do not seem to care very much. The biggest impact they've seen was a literal impact. It turns out that if you violently blow up the starship you're about to test the engines on, for no clear reason, I mean, they figured out the reason. There's a starship that they were getting ready to test. One of the canisters became overpressured. The entire thing violently exploded, and it shed pieces all over a beach where baby turtles were hatching. And baby turtles can't necessarily figure out how to go around pieces of exploded starship. So don't explode your rockets was the primary thing. Don't explode your rockets.
Don't explode your rockets. But, and that is, I mean, there are like, again, I think like if people are going to feel really mad about this environmental damage that you're, or even this environmental impact that you are making this place that is scary and undesirable for the homes for various mammals and seabirds, that you are going to disrupt the patterns of animals that have had their evolutionary process, their instincts have led them to these places. And so they don't, they can't, pack up and move somewhere else, that this is going to have an impact on them. That said, I mean, highways that crisscross the country, which are just killing zones for animals that are attempting to migrate. We drove in Australia, and it is just dead kangaroo after dead kangaroo, just a graveyard of animals. Here in Canada, it's deer,
armadillos.
Moose,
Armadillos
elk.
are suicidal.
Yeah, armadillos, turtles. So, there's so much, transportation, birds hitting the windows of your cars. There are, what we do with mining, right? To a chunk of it. And so I think it's great. We should definitely have a serious consideration about this. But, if these are the kinds of concerns that animate you, get out there and help work on minimizing humanity's impact on the natural world, because it is everywhere.
I do maintain you shouldn't explode your rockets.
Yeah, well, obviously, but I mean, like, exploding rockets is not part of the plan. Exploding rockets is definitely part of the process and is definitely going to happen, but it is not not every rocket is going to explode before the thing takes off from the launch pad. So, this is a concern we actually didn't talk about, which is light pollution, right? That there are starlinks that are passing through the night sky, that if you look up now, if you could see the starlinks, there would be this giant grid. There would be hundreds of starlinks in the sky from your dozens, maybe dozens, wild. But eventually it'll be hundreds. Yeah. And that this is going to, you can't see it with your eyes, but they are contributing a generalized glow that is making satellite observations just a little bit harder, not to mention the ones that run directly through any imaging that a giant telescope is doing at certain times of the year. So there's sort of like this increase in overall light pollution, the sky glow, as well as the direct harm. And, people are very angry about this. and yet a third of humanity can no longer see the Milky Way. Like our ability to see the sky has been completely taken from us because people can't remember or can't be bothered to use the kinds of lights that are best and point them towards the ground. That we have to just point these things up in the sky and take away this view that is causing enormous harm to animals that are attempting to migrate.
And it's something where, again, we have to compare and contrast. So, for instance, the World Trade Center memorial lights, when they get turned on, they can't leave them on for very long because birds will get stuck in them and just go in circles because they can't figure out how to navigate once they're in the light. But the satellite constellations are something that it's important to understand how these things work. They want to have multiple low altitude to decrease latency satellites overhead all the time. So ideally something like 5 satellites at a time in your sky. This is on top of the GPS satellites that have to be there already.
Per network.
And it's a per network issue, just like GPS is a per national collaboration.
Yeah, so you're going to have the Chinese ones, you're going to have the American ones, you're going to have the European ones. They're all going to be overhead.
And so as we layer orbit with more and more and more satellites to accomplish things with competing companies, it's going to increase what we're trying to look through. And then there is this thing called Reflect Orbital. All of you go to reflectorbital.com at some point. They're looking to build satellites that, what they say on their website is Reflect Orbital is delivering sunlight by building a constellation of in-space mirrors. Yeah. And they show solar panels at night receiving sunlight. And I really want this to be the Onion, but they're proudly saying they've secured $20 million in Series A funding.
Yeah.
And so we're also looking at a future where if someone wants to make sure that their all day, all night wedding celebration is well lit, you'd order up a satellite.
Right. All right, we're going to talk about gases next, but it is time for a break. And we're back. All right, so we rattle off a bunch of atmospheric gases that are being delivered, and they have different, potentially battling impacts on the environment. So let's just start with the greenhouse gases.
Methane. Methane is the one that worries me the most. We're looking to power more and more rockets with methane. It is one of the most serious greenhouse gases out there. And it does break down in sunlight. So when you release methane into the atmosphere, it's not going to stay there for years. It's going to stay there for months, break down under UV. But while it's there, it is contributing to as infrared light tries to leave our planet. So sunlight comes through in all the colors of the rainbow, and colors redder and bluer than what we can see in our eyes. All that light comes through. It warms the surface of our planet. It warms the atmosphere around us. And warm things re-radiate in infrared. It's black body radiation. Ideally, a lot of that heat energy then radiates back out into space. But just like a greenhouse you might build in your backyard where the glass serves to keep the infrared warm light, warm photons inside your greenhouse, well, putting methane into our atmosphere keeps that infrared warm light within our atmosphere, continuing to keep our atmosphere warmer than it necessarily would have been in the past. This leads to long-term heat. So, okay, there's methane. That's one issue. We worry about ozone. We worry about how ozone is getting broken down as they add other chemicals to the atmosphere. There is concern that increased launch activity is creating a new northern hemisphere ozone hole. And ozone holes, as any Australian can let you know, increase how much ultraviolet light is able to come down through our atmosphere. So each of these different gases that goes into the atmosphere changes what light comes through the atmosphere and reflects back away from the planet. Too much ultraviolet coming through due to holes in the ozone layer, reduction in the amount of ozone at the correct altitude in the atmosphere means more ultraviolet light and more cancers. And so we're actually making ourselves sick by launching too many rockets that are depleting the ozone layer.
Right, but it's really important to understand here that the amounts that are the depletion is very low.
Yeah.
Right, like currently. So there was a study that was done. It came out, we reported this earlier this year, that right now with the current launch rates of in the sort of 200 to 300 launches per year, that it's not outpacing the restoration of the ozone layer, based on the reduction of chlorofluorocarbons. But you get up to the about, say, 1,200 rate rockets per year, which is not inconceivable. Then those numbers flip, and now the amount of damage to the ozone layer is happening faster than the amount that than the thing is repairing, and so everything turns around and goes the other way. And the sweet spot, or I guess the target to look at is, and it's around the 700 launches ish per year, 750 launches per year. So as we get closer to that 750 launches per year, then we will start to sort of zero out the damage that we're doing, or the restoration of the ozone layer, and start to move in the other direction. And then the other thing, and like this is, when you think about, say, carbon dioxide, one transatlantic flight is about the same amount of carbon dioxide produced as one rocket launch. And that one rocket launch is going to, how many, you're going to get a couple of hundred launches per year, when you're going to have, tens of thousands of flights a day?
So all of that is true.
Thousands of flights a day.
One of the concerns is the altitude at which the gases are getting released.
And the kind of the plume. So they're very sooty.
Yeah.
Rocket launches are very sooty. And so they produce a lot of fine particles that, as you say, are making their way into layers of the atmosphere that we've never seen that before. And that comes back to what you said earlier, which is that, in fact, potentially we're looking at potentially a cooling effect, in sort of the same way that we had the shipping when they removed the sulfur dioxide from their fuels, that actually things warmed up because they were these clouds, these persistent clouds above the shipping lanes were going away in the Atlantic. And so it's like so confusing. And
the scale is really something that I have to give you actual numbers. It's currently September 22nd. So far this year, we've had 222 launch attempts, according to rocketlaunch.live. 8 of them ceased to be rockets prior to getting very high. So 2025, 222 at this point. Looking back at 2020, in 2020, for the entire year, there were 114. Looking back at 2015, there were 85 for the entire year. So we are going up very rapidly, and they're looking at adding dozens of launches per year of the Falcon 9 to Vandenberg. They're looking to add order of 80 per pad Starship launches to Cape Canaveral. I don't know what numbers they're aiming for Boca Chica. I haven't read those reports yet. So we're looking at, with just one company, massive increases in launches. Now you start to propagate this across. You see Blue Origin is launching more and more of their smaller rockets. They're starting to get their larger rockets going. You have Rocket Lab is just there, slow and steady, getting the job done. And China is really working hard to catch up looking at launches by country, we've had 54 launches so far this year that were successful from China.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about the impact of deorbiting spacecraft in a second, but it's time for another break. And we're back. So we talked about this, and again, it's very complicated, and this is something that's a lot of work on, about the gases that are going out from the rocket as the thing is taking off. But you have the end of life, and the most efficient way to deal with rockets, with debris, with satellites, is to have them re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. And that they are introducing very specific types of particles at an altitude that you don't normally see.
Yeah.
That said, there is about 100 tons of debris that is falling into the atmosphere every day from space.
Yeah.
But that is generally silicon oxide, iron oxide. It is chunks of rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the kinds of exotic materials like aluminum, titanium, the stuff that goes into solar panels.
Yeah.
So it's a different mix. What kind of impact are we expecting to see from these re-entering satellites?
So one of the concerns is there's a whole lot of aluminum used in space manufacturing. Starship by SpaceX is one of the exceptions. They're using steel. Most companies are using a lot of aluminum because it gives you a really good lightweight material that you can then use to support whatever the outer shell of your craft is. All that aluminum in the atmosphere appears to be the kind of particulate matter that's capable of staying lofted in the atmosphere for long periods of time, which is a problem, and then acting as a potential greenhouse gas. Feels like the wrong term to use, but I mean, it's a greenhouse material that is changing the reflectivity of the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And damaging the ozone layer.
And yeah.
And that's another kind of direct thing that you're getting. So you're getting this, again, direct damage to the ozone layer, and you've got the rockets going up, and you've got the material coming back down, damaging the ozone layer. And you've got the additional, and I think I can see why you're like, it's not so cut and dry. You can't just say it's going to be like carbon dioxide or even methane or even water vapor injected into the atmosphere. It's complicated.
Yeah.
That you've got this stuff coming down and adding soot at layers where you wouldn't necessarily expect it to absorb temperature.
Yeah.
But then it's going to be changing temperatures at other layers. So it's going to make the climate, the atmosphere stack,
and there's
more complicated.
There's weird effects we're still trying to figure out. So for instance, as you put more and more conductive molecules into the atmosphere, how is that going to affect things like aurora and magnetic fields and things like that? We're figuring it out. It's going to be affecting both light coming down and light going back out. How does that balance out? And then we also have to remember that not everything burns up completely. And a lot of these spacecraft have on board fuels that allow them to adjust their altitude for however long they intend to be functioning. And so now there's always that concern of, well, did that carry hydrazine? Did that carry some poisonous component that's going to make its way down? Or is it just something that has chunks that are, we like to bomb Australia. It's not on purpose. It just happens to be big, and
they're big. Yeah.
Yeah. It
underfoot
catches things. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So between concern of remaining gases on board that are going to end up either on the ground or in the atmosphere, between now we're putting new kinds of particulate materials that aren't the pieces of rock that we're used to burning up in the atmosphere, between not understanding how these particles are necessarily going to stay lofted, not fully understanding how they're going to interact with each other to stay lofted in the planet's magnetic field. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of stuff we just don't know. And one of the things that always kind of sticks in the back of my mind is In research on climate change, the biggest differences between what we're seeing today and what was predicted in the early 2000s when we started talking about this, with major papers coming out in around 2003, the mistakes we have made have been in lack of imagination about all the sources that we're going to have for things producing greenhouse gases, and lack of understanding all the atmospheric details. Now, the one thing I can say is, as we keep dumping completely empty boosters that previously contained liquid fuels, we are creating potential coral reefs. I'm a fan of potential coral reefs, but that's the only good thing I've seen so far. And, you know, the Navy already had it handled. They were dumping old ships. It worked. We don't necessarily need rockets to. No.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, what do you think can be done about this? I mean, I think we should we can guarantee that humanity's interest in launching rockets will increase.
Yeah.
And that we will probably blow through what are wise limits in number of rockets to launch. Go ahead.
What I just don't know right now is we live in a world where there are economic factors that are dominated by people trying to obtain so much wealth that it becomes power at the national, global level, that they're going to prioritize obtaining wealth over welfare of humanity.
I mean, I don't sort of necessarily buy into that personally, that, you know, everybody driving their cars all the time, everybody hopping on airplanes, everyone getting on cruise ships, but everybody burning.
So I hear what you're saying, but the majority of the greenhouse gases and other materials that are infecting our atmosphere are produced by, I forget how many corporations it is, but
like
it's
70 or something, 40, some small number. Yeah,
so the majority of the impact is not coming from those airplanes. It is coming from industry. It's coming from industry. And so...
Or the industry that makes the airplanes, right? Like I mean, there are externalities. And I guess this is where I think this conversation always needs to end to, which is that there are externalities, that you can't just launch a rocket and not think about what you're doing to the environment.
Yeah.
That there are costs, and whether the costs have to be paid today or the costs have to be paid in the future, somebody's going to have to pay the costs. And in general, if you're organized, you minimize the cost that anybody's ever going to have to pay ever right from the beginning. You take these future costs very seriously, this potential tragedy of the commons, and that there are actions that we can take, both in the types of fuels people are proposing, soot-free rocket fuels. People are proposing ways of making satellites, you know, either dumping them in so they hold together and don't burn up in the atmosphere, right? Like, there's a lot of ideas from cradle to grave on what you can do for the entire rocket industry. For me, my hope is that we switch to a space-based infrastructure, that if we're going to need things in space, we build them out in space. They don't come from Earth. And then they don't have to crash back down to Earth. That they just have never, they were born off Earth, they stay off Earth, that who cares what's, you know, sort of how much pollution they're causing, because it's just out in space. That would be my preference, and that we shift away. Then maybe there's this future where we launch a couple of rockets a year of people going off into space, and that none of the other infrastructure is required. Everything just happens off Earth. But until then, we need to figure out ways to minimize their footprint now, for when we know that it's going to, you know, ruin the commons in the future. And this is where people who, like so many of you out there watching, who want to understand the peer-reviewed, published science behind conversations like we're having today, need to make their voices heard, because
we're seeing in so many nations around the world, with my own nation leading the charge, it appears, that profit is dominating in the short term over the long-term taking care of our world to make sure that economies continue into the future. And we're even hearing far too many discussions about you don't need to worry because the rapture is coming.
Right, yeah. So consider the externalities.
Yeah.
You know, when you are making proposals, consider the externalities. When you are government, when you are writing laws, consider the externalities. Make sure that they are part of the process, and that then people can make a better decision on what is the true cost of some technology once you consider the long-term ramifications of what it's going to be doing to the environment, because it is a shared space for all of us.
And there is no one answer. That's the important thing to remember. It's sort of like I should never own an electric vehicle because what goes into building one is substantial, and we drive maybe 5,000 miles a year. So yeah, it's the answer.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
It's about 9 months of driving an electric car, then balances out, and then it's all gravy between an ICE and an electric car. But that's another conversation for another show. All right, thanks, Pamela.
Thank you, Fraser, and thank you to all of the people out there who support us through Patreon. We are in the process of updating our levels and what we're doing. We're adding a new That Takes Math Q&A show in which I am working out problems that we are unable to answer during our live recordings because that takes math. So if you would like access to the live recordings of that insanity and so much more, check us out on astronomycast.com/Patreon. No, I said that wrong. On patreon.com/astronomycast.
Yeah.
I need to make both links work.
We should make both work. Yeah, if you go to AstronomyCast, it takes you over to Patreon. Thanks, Pamela. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Typos that become URLs we purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
So how many miles are they now saying is the break-even point on electric vehicles? Because last time I looked,
it's like 5,000 miles.
Okay, it used to be a whole lot higher.
No,
I need to update the information in my head.
Yeah, there was a study that came out. It's not very much, and so in your case, if you're not planning on buying a new vehicle, if you're going to keep driving your old Jeep, I don't know if that's still your vehicle.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going to drive an old, like, the best solution is to not buy a new car.
Yeah. We have a 2014 Kia.
Perfect. Don't buy a new car.
No.
But if you are going to buy a new car or a used car, then the best car to buy is going to be an electric car.
Yeah. I think this car still has many years left in it, and then an old Prius is probably in our future.
Zappan is saying that it depends on the source of the electricity. Yeah, so the number that I was giving is if it's like hydroelectric, if it's renewable.
Yeah.
But even if it is polluting, like even if it is a gas plant or whatever, it is still only a little bit more. Like it's a few more thousands of miles, just because electric cars are so much more efficient and so much of a lower impact on the environment. There's literally no reason to not buy an electric car at this point. People are, and then, because there's a whole industry out there that's trying to, put out doubt to get people to not buy electric cars. But they're absolutely, and there are a lot of really good electric car companies out there. So, like, I drive a 2015 Leaf, 2014 Leaf. Right, so you could buy these things for like $3,000.
Yeah, here not so much. We have a shortage of housing and a shortage of vehicles. You live in a country that.
No, hold on. St. Louis. Cars for sale. Let me see. All right,
I'm expecting a number
Leaf.
around 8,000.
Used Leaf.
All right, well, he does that. I'm going to look to see, did the Meteors, Zapfan asks, did the Meteors on Demand company go out of business? I have to admit, I never heard of that company, so I'm guessing yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard from them in a long time. All right, you can get a 2017 Leaf for $5,500. And then you can get a 2016 Leaf for $9,000. But if you go farther, let's go farther. Let's go within, say, 200 miles. Although it's hard to get a Nissan Leaf back at 200 miles. Yeah, I've seen prices in the U.S. for in the sort of 5,000 range.
Okay.
For the old Leafs. They're like just a great little.
Yeah, I
bummer
don't
down
usually
car.
try and buy used cars more than 5 years old, so that's where I'm seeing higher prices.
Yeah, even the 2011 one. Still, like mine has 90% of its range. So it's barely lost any of its battery range. So it gets me about 120 kilometers. And you can even, people will put, you can take a crashed Leaf and you can put the battery into your car. And my Leaf can actually handle the largest battery that they ever made for the Leafs, which mine is a 24 kilowatt hour battery, and they make a 62 kilowatt hour battery that you can put in them, which then would give my car about 400 kilometers range, and that's the newer ones. And it's about $10,000. So for the price of a 5-year-old car, you can have an electric car that goes 400K range.
We are going to continue to drive our 2014 Kia.
yeah, sure, do it. I'm just saying, when you need to replace that car,
Yeah.
the only logical choice, the only rational choice is to buy an electric car. Especially because you can plug yours in your driveway.
Yeah,
if you live in
that's
an
true.
apartment, it's super tough.
Yeah, we actually have power going to our garage that would support it.
Yeah. And then, yeah. And like, again, I would, there are certain electric car companies that I wouldn't purchase a car from. But the old Nissan Leafs are amazing. Like, they nailed it. And apparently they got a new one coming out now, which I'm kind of tempted to break all my rules and upgrade my car. We'll trade in all our cars and get the new one. Because we've got a 2011 Ford Explorer that we use.
I did just get a conversion kit for my Brompton folding bicycle so that it is also electric boost, so that my closest friend lives straight uphill from me.
Yeah.
And I will actually take the 6-mile route to her house instead of the 2-mile route to her house to avoid the worst of that hill.
Right.
And so just having that slight bump in what my bike can handle.
How complex is it to put this electric kit on your bike?
So for me, because I'm allergic to rubber, the concern is I need someone else to touch the wheel for me.
Yes. Yeah.
But other than that, it's a 2-hour conversion.
Right. There's like a shop in town that can do it.
Yeah. It's I got the Switch bike. They do conversion kits for Bromptons and a whole lot of other bikes. I wanted to convert the bike I use when I'm traveling so that I can explore foreign cities the way I've always crazily done, just with less sweating now. So my city cruiser and my road bike are still my favorites.
I mean, I cannot understate. Again, I've ranted about this in the past.
Yeah.
What a game changer an electric bike is.
Yeah.
It turns the entire world flat. Like, it's just the whole world is flat.
Yeah.
And you ride longer and you ride harder and you are out on your bike more often, and things that you're like, oh, I can't do that because it's gonna electric bike. Amazing.
The town I live in fact, the county I live in, Madison County, Illinois, has been working to make a a bus to trails program so that you can get anywhere in the county through a combination of buses and bike trails.
That's cool.
And the bike trails are getting truly phenomenal because this used to be coal country. So the woods are just full of old railroad tracks that they can convert into bike lanes.
Yeah.
And my husband has an electric bike, and there is a pub with amazing wings that we go to quite often, and it is truly a joy to be able to go to the pub on a bicycle, through the woods. You're not
Yeah.
crossing any streets. The biggest thing you have to worry about is there's one groundhog that will go, "No bicycle!" and just like very scared.
Right.
And we know where the
wait,
groundhog lives.
So your husband rides an electric bike, and you're riding a regular old pedal bike.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah, we're on
Right.
year 4 of this, and
Yes.
he still complains about the heat and stuff, and doesn't want a bike. He wants to drive periodically.
Yeah.
I'm throwing my husband under the bus here, or under
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gas-powered car, as the case may be.
under the knobbly bike tire.
Yeah. So far, he and I have been going out. With me, I'll ride my racing bike if the two of us are going out, so that it allows me to keep up.
Yeah.
But then when we get somewhere, I am ready to die, and he's like, "I am fine."
Yeah. No, once you get that electric conversion on your bike, you're gonna just be mind blown.
Yeah.
It feels just wrong. You're riding your bike and you're going up a steep hill.
Yeah.
And you're just pedaling the way you normally do, and
Yeah.
it just feels like it's flat. And I think for places, I mean, and you've been to Amsterdam, right? You've
Oh,
been
yeah,
to,
yeah.
in Europe, yeah. Everyone just rides, and like
Yeah, it's
Paris is
amazing.
turning into a bike riding city. London is turning into a big bike riding
Yeah,
city. They're
St.
shutting
Louis
down
is.
roads. They're switching
Yeah.
over to bikes. Like, it just makes so much sense to ride your bikes everywhere. And then places like where I live, where there are a lot of hills, I live on the side of a mountain, and yet it is just effortless to ride up the side of the mountain. and I've got 100 kilometers range on my bike.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's I
Yeah.
think my bike has a 50-kilometer limit, but I can get a spare battery for it. Like I said, I'm just waiting for somebody not allergic to rubber to come
Yeah.
handle everything for me. This is my life.
Yeah, Nick Samek is saying, but I like pedaling my bike hard. You can.
You can, yeah.
You can either dial down the amount of assist you're getting on your bike if you want to pedal hard, and then go for it, fill your boots, or you pedal hard while having the assist, which makes you go
Zoom.
even faster. So that's fun too.
Yeah.
Leo
What's
Schultz- Oh, go ahead.
What's funny in our trails is the people out there on race bikes are often going 20 to 25 miles per hour, and everyone on the electric bikes, normally, there's a few exceptions, there's always a few exceptions, the electric bikes are like obeying the 15 mile per hour bike trail speed limit. So the electric bikes are far less dangerous on the trails than those of us on our race bikes.
And Leo Chills is saying, imagine how wonderful a motorcycle must be if electric bikes are so good. We just watched the Long Way Up on Apple TV, and that's the
Ewan McGregor,
and Charlie Borman
Yes.
doing and they used electric Harleys to go all the way from the south tip of South America all the way up to Los Angeles.
They had some issues along the way.
They did, yeah. There was a lot of like this week in charging in the beginning, but eventually they sort of figured that out.
Yeah.
But like the problem with motorcycles is they're suicide cycles. Like
Yeah.
they're so dangerous, and being on the road,
Mm-hmm.
cars will run you over, and so it's just a matter of time, like the multiplier. And
Yeah.
so bicycles are dangerous if you're sharing the road with cars. More dangerous than driving.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of places that are starting to take this very seriously and putting in separate bike paths that are actually physically separated from the cars. And so we've got to like have more people who want to ride, they want a safer ride, and we've got to lobby our local governments and whine and complain to them that bicycling is too dangerous, and we need to get this encouragement, because reducing, like, everyone getting on bikes reduces traffic. It's good on every single metric you can possibly
Yeah.
met. People are healthier. The environmental impact is reduced. People are out and more social. The place feels more alive. Like, everything is good about being on a bicycle compared to driving in your cars.
So
And
Nick Samek asks, what makes a motorcycle its speed and what you're sharing the road with. Motorcycles are not allowed on the separated lanes that bicycles can go on. So, for instance, when I'm out, I have to cross roads in various places, but other than that, I am completely separate from all the bicycles. The other difference is on my bicycle, I've got up over 30. I don't recommend it. It was terrifying. I applied brakes.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm under 20 miles per hour. Most of the time I'm closer to 12 miles per hour. That speed is a whole lot less than a motorcycle speed. So when I crash, and I've had 2 fairly bad crashes, I'm likely to break bones, but my skin is mostly intact. I'll get road rash that's fairly severe. If you do that same kind of an accident on a motorcycle, you have to worry about the weight of the motorcycle hitting you, and that can cause damage. And then the energy of impact from the higher velocities is a huge factor. The energy that you hit the ground with is your mass times your velocity squared. So when you double your velocity going from 20 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour, the energy of impact goes up by a factor of 4.
Yep.
So that scaling as the squared of the velocity really makes the motorcycle worse.
Yeah.
Always wear a helmet, folks, just no matter which of the two you're on. And think carefully before you go out in not really good shoes, because your feet are going to be the thing that hit the ground first when you're trying to stop yourself and balance yourself. And learn how not to reach out, because that's how you break things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, taking a tumble on your bike is definitely an experience that most of us have had. And yet, as you say, most of the time, most of the tumbles that you take are in slow motion.
Yeah.
That you don't see the kinds of horrific accidents that you get on a motorcycle crash.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The 2 really bad crashes I had were, in one case, it was right before AC 500. I was out on my city cruiser, of all things, going about 12 to 15 miles per hour, and my chain locked. And so the bike stopped moving, and I just, my full weight went into my handlebars, and I tumbled off. And I ended up breaking my arm in 2 places because of the force going into the handlebars.
Yeah.
And then the other time, don't ever bike ride angry, I learned. I was trying to blow off some steam related to grant writing. And I had brand new pedal clips, like the kind of shoes where you stomp into your pedals. Took my foot out to cross the street, couldn't get my foot back in, did the one thing you're not supposed to ever do. I looked down, and when I looked up, I was about to hit the bollard in the middle of the trail that is there to prevent cars going onto the trail. And I went straight into the center of that bollard and over it. And I'm so lucky they put the height of the bollards where they do, because I had this long gash along my belly that was just like road rash gash from my stomach going across the top of the bollard. And I compressed the frame of my bicycle. There was no repairing it.
Right.
So, yeah. Most of the time, though, you're applying brakes and not hitting non-moving objects. It takes skill to hit a non-moving object that has been there for years and you have seen for years.
Ouch.
Sorry, rant.
No,
rant occurred.
No. It's good. It's good. All right. Well, we've reached the end of our episode. Pamela, what are you working on?
I am getting ready to take the beta flag off of our 2 new citizen science projects to map out lunar melt and make sure that a machine learning algorithm is correctly matching and layering together mosaics of CTX images of Mars. And this coming weekend, I'm going to be at MagicCon talking about the science behind some of the cards. I've been creating tokens, for those of you who play Magic the Gathering, of landers and robots. I have 2 posted up on Patreon now as quips, which you should be able to see using the Patreon app. So go check it all out. That's going up on the CosmoQuest X Patreon. So patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. You can see it all if you join for free. Please join for free so I can inundate you with science.
Yes. Yeah, join for free. Join Patreons for free. So I've got my live show tonight at 5 o'clock, so in 5 hours. So
Very cool.
I'll be answering your questions about space and/or astronomy. All right.
Sounds great.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Thanks to our moderators. Thanks in advance to the editors who have to deal with all this nonsense.
It's
And
true.
we will see all of you next week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.